All right, so we're not on the radio yet, but we are on Facebook Live. Good morning, everybody. Yay. It's Andy. Andy's here. A lot of you guys know Andy. Andy's awesome. And there's music playing on the radio. We can't hear it here, but there is music going.
Okay.
Can you hear it, kind of, sort of?
Barely.
Yeah, that's playing on the radio right now.
Okay. Good to know.
Benny's getting us all set up. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 425 Show, your place to be for all things real estate and lifestyle related here on the East Side. I'm your host, Nicole Mangina with Windermere Real Estate. It's April 30th. Oh my goodness. Tomorrow's the 1st of May, which is prime buying and selling season here in the Northwest. It's funny, I was on social media yesterday, and a friend of mine who is also an agent posted something. It was like a cougar in a cage, and there was a bunny, and they let the cougar out, and the cougar goes ripping out past to go chase the bunny, and she's like, that's how buyers feel in the market right now.
Yeah.
They're all
Wow.
racing around to try and find homes. So we've kind of got a show-long real estate update. Usually I do one at the beginning, but we've got Andy Allred with Finance of America Mortgage here joining us today to talk
Thanks
about the
for
market.
having me here. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for
Excited
being
to be here.
Thanks. We've both been in our industries for a long time, mortgage and real estate, but we go way back, like we knew each other before that.
Yes. we
With
did.
our kids went to preschool together.
They went to preschool together, but they also had their first karate class together.
Oh, that's right.
When they were really little,
I
like the
remember
very
that.
first one, like the
Yes.
little tigers or something
I
like
know. It was over by Costco in Kirkland. I
Yeah.
forget what it was called. Miller's Martial Arts.
that. That's right.
That's right.
And we would go, and it was really the first activity that I feel like,
Same.
you know,
Yeah.
our first kid had done. They were probably, what, 3+?
Yes.
And we'd go and stand there next to each other,
Yeah.
watching these little kids, and you know the parents are saying nothing much, you know.
It's your first like parent thing with a little
Yes,
kid of
yes.
like, are we social? Are we just
Yes.
supposed to watch our kid? What do we do
wondering
here?
who, you know, who's paired with who.
Right.
Yes. And as time went on, you know, it was great that we became friends, and
Yeah,
got
absolutely.
to know your husband Gary really well.
Yes,
And
exactly.
find out that he likes much of the same things that I do. So you know,
It was
it's got
perfect.
along great.
I
Yes,
know. Your
yes.
wife Debbie's amazing. You've got great
Thank
boys
you.
the same ages as our boys. So yeah, they did preschool together,
They did.
which I don't know about you guys. That was such an intense time, right? Like putting our kids. We had a nanny when the kids were really little, and then they got a little squirrely, and they outgrew that. So we thought, okay, you need more interaction than we can give you in our house. But that was
Yeah.
so emotional to like go check out these preschools.
Well, it
can I
was.
send my
Matter of
kid
fact,
here?
I think that you may have given the preschool a little nudge
Oh yeah.
to try and get my son in, because you know I'm sure it's still the same way, but you really have to start looking for preschools well in advance, and you don't really know that.
What? No, because why
Yeah,
would you
yeah.
know that?
No, I know.
Yes. So if you're out there and you're pregnant or you just had a baby, now
Yes.
is when you need to start looking at preschools. That's
Yes.
your PSA for today. It's never too early to start checking out preschools.
And I remember my wife telling me that that we did need to begin looking for preschools, and I wasn't really buying it. I didn't know. You know,
Yeah.
I should have listened to her.
Well, who would have thought?
With that and many other things, I'm sure.
Debbie
too.
was right.
Yes, she's always right. Always.
There you go. Our boys play baseball together. We were just talking about that before the show. Kirkland American Little League.
Yes.
We're super involved in that.
I have been, and probably for about 10 years or so. So my oldest son, Drew, he already played through. Now he's in high school. My youngest son opted not to play, but I've stayed involved with the Kirkland American Little League Board of Directors,
Yeah.
and acted as the treasurer for going on 8 to 10 years or so.
That's awesome.
And I have wanted to stay because Kirkland American Little League has always been really special to me. So just so happens that I played in Kirkland American Little League.
Did
way
you
back
really?
In the day. Yes, and so did my younger brothers, and so I've had many great experiences on those fields.
That's great.
And then to see my son come up and play on those same fields and then be involved in that has been just great. I just want to hang on to it, you know. And,
Yeah.
it just kind of just reminds you of good fun times.
It is, and it's fun. I love watching the kids there at Everest Park in Kirkland because it's such a community thing, right? For the parents, but also the kids. Yesterday, Ryan didn't have a game, but he didn't have homework, so he went up and watched his buddies play a game, and he got to take his money and buy a little burger at the snack shack, and it's nice. They can go interact with friends and just kind of have some freedom.
It really is, and we're very lucky to have such a fantastic facility there too. It's so good that's where they play the junior softball World Series.
I know, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that really is amazing.
That's pretty cool.
So Kirkland American Little League is actually the oldest Little League in the state.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. It was first started, and the games were played down at Peter Kirk Park.
Okay.
That's where the original field was, and then fields moved up to Everest, and rest is history there. But it's also the largest Little League program in the district. So there's 700 kids that play Little League baseball. Yeah, many times we just look at the older kids and we see the majors teams, with the showcased games on the big field. But generally that's maybe 70 of the kids. So predominantly it's made up of softball and t-ball and, the younger kids.
That's awesome.
It's just very much, a big part of the community.
It is. It's really pretty cool. T-ball actually remains my favorite year of Little League.
Is that right?
Because nobody cares. They're just having fun. Yeah. Everybody runs to third base. They all get a snack at the end. I don't know. It's good times.
Yeah, it is.
It's just everybody being social, and nobody really cares about winning or losing or any of that stuff.
Nope.
So you are a deep part of the Kirkland community and just the 425. I love it.
Yes, because, I grew up in Kirkland, and then went to the local schools there. Then I didn't travel far, and I went to University of Washington, lived over in Seattle for a while.
Good place to hang out.
Yeah, and then when my wife and I were having kids, we moved back to Kirkland, of course.
It's a good place to raise kids.
And we chose Kirkland because I really liked the walkability factor of the city. So we tried to move as close as we could to the downtown area.
That's great.
So that we could maintain some of that urban feel of Seattle, in a way.
It's a good balance of East Side amenities. It still feels, like you said, there's a little urban feel to it. You can walk to things.
Yeah,
the
walk
kids,
to a grocery store, bring your groceries back.
Yes.
I mean, that does exist there.
Totally.
But Kirkland is quite big, and so it's not like that everywhere, but...
No, but where you live downtown, kind of where we live, it's great. And in the summer, the kids can walk downtown and get ice cream.
You
or
bet.
Do whatever it is they want to do. Feel like they've got some independence.
Yeah.
So,
no kidding.
Yeah. Great. And how long have you been doing mortgages?
Since the beginning of 2003.
Oh, okay.
And prior to that, prior to getting in the mortgage
years.
business, I was a financial advisor.
Okay.
And so I had been doing that for about 4 years or so. And a couple of my best clients that I would advise, they were in the mortgage business, and they just seemed to really enjoy it. There was just a lot there that created some attractive features, some competitiveness and business, and also, just a lot of good possibilities. And so, anyways, I went to go work for one of them, and then enjoyed it, and brought many of my financial advising strategies with me. So it made it a little bit different, because sometimes mortgage can feel somewhat transactional, because once the mortgage is closed and the people move into the house, then they might, that could just be it. And that can happen on many occasions, but what I try to do is take more of a lifetime look at it, and then create a lifetime client, and we can look at the longer term much of the time and how things might fit into their financial plan.
Right.
Very much so, especially when looking at how much the payment might be, how much can you pay it down, whether we do a 15-year loan or maybe an ARM loan. The timelines are so important, how long you think you're going to be there, and it really dictates and helps decide what might end up being the best actual loan for you. So while financial advising for the most part is about investing, mortgage is about debt management. And so
but they
the
go
two
hand in hand.
They really do.
Yeah.
They really do.
That's awesome. And I love that you do that with your clients. And that's always what I tell my buyers when we first get together. You know, we need that pre-approval letter because we can't negotiate effectively without it. But there's so much more that goes into it. There are so many aspects that determine why you would do one mortgage versus another, and even why you would purchase at one purchase price or another, right? For the time that I work with a client to purchase his home, we're all about the price, right? What's the sales price? What are we going to get it for? But I always tell clients that really, it's not irrelevant, but what matters is the monthly payment and how is that relevant to your whole financial plan and how it looks for your family. So the benefit of getting approved and meeting with a lender sooner versus later is you can walk through all of those scenarios and they can find out really what's the right one for them, because once we're under contract, that clock is ticking and the chance to really figure that out is difficult or non-existent because we just don't have time. It's like, no, we got to get this thing rolling.
Yes, it really is. And what's also a challenge sometimes is that the home that you guys pick can dictate the plan.
Yes.
And so the plan can change. So they might be thinking, hey, I want a turnkey home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so going in, it'd probably be a longer term loan.
Right.
And you can kind of go in and think that. And then if it's a fixer-upper, then you can take on a different strategy of putting less money down.
Right.
With an idea of possibly refinancing in a short period of time after you've used that money that you would have used for a down payment to make the home better.
Right.
And then have a higher value when you're done. And then possibly get rid of the mortgage insurance. And so it's that one's a hard one to explain, where, you know, people, they want to have the plan done prior to, you know, going into the home, but really, you know, it can change.
There's lots of different options.
Yeah.
And you're really good at that. In fact, we've got some clients we're working together on right now they close on Friday. They're so excited. It's awesome. I was all excited. I thought we were like the best thing they had going, and then he went and proposed to her. And like, well, he just trumped us, darn it. So they've got 2 big weeks coming up. But they had, you know, tried to work with a different mortgage broker before and just were kind of getting the cut and dry. You can do this, that, you know. And they just weren't getting their questions answered, and they didn't have someone that they could walk through those scenarios with to kind of like, okay, well, if we do this, how about that? Because there is so much of that. And you know, now they're working with you, and she has gone on and on about how much she appreciates you and the extra time that you've taken to go through that process with them. So it's so much more with you than just, hey, here's a mortgage, here's an interest rate, let's move on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I find that there's many different types of ways to run the mortgage business.
Sure.
So sometimes an originator like me might have a team of people that really execute after the point of sale.
Right.
And then they really help along the way and then bring it all the way to closing. And that's a good way to run that business. But with everything that I had done with financial advisory, I really felt that I needed to hold that client's hand through that process and then you know, just be more hands-on with that. So we'll do less loans out of our office because of that, but our experience has generally, you know, been such that our clients are very, very happy and continue to come back over and over.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then generally, you know, get a lot of referrals too, and that's how we've always done it.
That's a good way to live.
Smaller.
Happy clients, good life.
Yeah, there you go.
And Finance of America is interesting because that's not a name we hear around here a lot, but it's actually a national company, right?
It is, and so Finance of America started on the East Coast and has been acquiring mid-sized mortgage banks, you know, up until about 2015, and I was part of another company called Pinnacle Capital Mortgage.
Right.
And Finance of America bought them in 2015, and we just recently adopted the new name of the new company, Finance of America, and that's been a real positive. We've enjoyed that. And then with that, there are a lot of Finance of America branches around the Kirkland and Seattle area, but they're allowed to use a different marketing name, and so we've seen companies that we're very much teamed up with, like Absolute Mortgage.
Sure.
and they have an operations center just in Yarrow Bay in Kirkland.
Okay.
And so it has, having that operations center there with local underwriters that live and work in this community and play Little League with our kids many times. It's just been a real positive there too, because there's so many advantages to really being able to see how maybe an appraised value of a house might actually be in existence. There's just a lot of many things that having that local market knowledge is a huge positive.
It's a super big thing. We were talking about that before the show, right? If you're out there and you're thinking about purchasing a home, what Andy's just talking about, what that means is you're affiliated with a national company, so you have access to a lot of different mortgage programs. But the benefit of local underwriting means you get people that get our market. And like you said, the appraisals, which is so important, and I think that's something buyers don't realize.
Yeah.
Like if you go, the biggest time I see it show up is, if somebody is with a bank, and you could get a local lender for the bank, or you can get the 1-800 Midwest person,
Sure.
Which they're lovely people, but they don't, first of all, they don't run referral businesses, so they have a very different approach to how they treat their clients. But also, if you're dealing with everybody non-local, our market is very different than a Midwest market or something else. So
It really
the turnaround time, just understanding the nuances, makes a huge difference on how well that loan comes together for the client.
It really does. Around here, some of the dirt is so valuable that it can be a mind bender for somebody that might be living, in the Midwest, to see like a 900 square foot home be valued at such a high value. Just based on its location.
For
it's
sure.
not something that is easily understood. Unless you live here.
And then you're like,
trying
well,
to
that's
buy
a bargain.
One. Yeah, no kidding.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what are you seeing in the market? I always love getting your take on it, right? I have my take with my buyers and sellers, but you just work with more buyers than I do, a broader perspective on it. What are you seeing in terms of multiple offers, hot areas, all that kind of good stuff?
Good question. So what we're seeing is that it seems to us that, first of all, the buyers are winning in their contracts.
That's good.
Yes, it is. So, over the last couple of years, many times buyers would get discouraged because they would get pre-approved and think that it was time to go buy. And then they would just run out of steam because they would put many offers down and not win those contracts. Now, I've noticed that determined buyers find a house.
Yes.
And not only that, they're often getting good terms on the sale of the contract when they're using a great realtor to possibly get seller concessions or even sometimes, below list. And I've seen a few of those just lately, which many times I didn't see that. I hadn't seen that really for, a couple of years.
Yeah.
They had been going over list price, and that was the real norm. But right now it seems to be a really good balance. One of the great positives that has helped as well in the last 45 days or so is that mortgage interest rates have come down a bit.
Right. It's a huge deal.
It really is. And so when the mortgage rate comes down a bit, then affordability goes up as well. And that, helps with the real estate market as well. So if you were thinking you were going to get a home for $600,000 and you had your budget set, at a particular amount for your mortgage payment, well, you feel pretty good maybe stretching yourself to a different home and finding that other one at $625 because the mortgage rate is lower, so the payment's the same for the $625,000 house as it was for the $600,000 house. And that's a good combination, which makes this real estate market in our area still hot.
It is, yeah. And that's another reason why, again, it's so important to talk to you because ahead of time as a mortgage broker, because I really want clients to understand that, right? What is that interest rate really can make a big difference? I think I was told once that every 1% change in interest rate is roughly equivalent to about a 10% change in purchase power.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot, though, right? That's a
Well,
very different house.
It's if I think about that, it seems about right, because if we were to have interest rates in the middle threes, then it's probable that the real estate market would go up 10%,
Right.
because the payment differential helps spur that on, and that in part really helped accelerate the old market just years ago,
Yeah,
in
for sure.
2012, 13, and 14, when it began to heat up and interest rates were in those low threes. So there are some out there that think that we might see that again sometime. Many of the things that I've been reading feel like there could be an opportunity in 2020 or 2021 where rates do possibly come down again.
Next year's an election year, right? So
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But usually things are good, at least until the election, right? Because
Yes.
whoever it is wants to win.
Yeah,
And
but there's an equal number of people on the other side that say that rates are going to go up too. So
yeah,
all you can do is see where it's at right now, see how it fits, and then live your life.
yes. I always tell my clients, buy or sell based on your life, not on trying to time the market, because you just never know, right? Certainly,
it's paralyzing.
Yes.
We don't have a crystal ball.
And all of that information you only know looking in the rearview mirror once it's gone.
Absolutely.
And you missed it.
Absolutely. And if we did know exactly what was going to happen,
Right.
then we wouldn't be sitting here. We'd be, on a beach somewhere, because we would have made all those predictions, in
Exactly.
years past, and been, millionaires of 10 times over by now, predicting what the market would do. It just can't be done.
No, and real estate's always has meant to be a long-term hold, right? That's the
Absolutely.
conversation I have with my clients. If you're not going to be there at least 5 years, you shouldn't buy. If you think you're getting relocated in 2 years, maybe you want to rent. Now, in the market we just had, you could own it for 2 years and probably make 30%, but that's not the normal market. So you need to own it for at least 5, ideally 10 years. Some years are going to be great. You'll probably go down 1 or 2 years, but you'll end up ahead all the way through. So as long as you buy and today's the right day for you and whatever you have going on, that's the
Yeah.
better decision process versus, can I time the market?
Yeah, you
'Cause who
bet.
knows where that's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else are you seeing with buyers in the market?
Well, one really nice thing is that there are more mortgage products out there that are allowing more buyers to be able to buy.
Right.
Lending has loosened up a bit, and so we're seeing the ability to put less money down for more people.
Right. That's good.
It is good, but they're still having to qualify in every other single way, with income and job history and
And when
credit.
you say less money down, what does less money down mean?
3%.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
you can get an outstanding mortgage with 3% down.
great.
I know. And then there's also, of course, the old FHA, which is still there, and but not used as much right now because of this new 3%.
Right.
It's not really new, but it just wasn't really available as much before.
Got
And
it.
then 5% conventional too. But really in the jumbo market, which we see a lot of
Right.
on the east side there,
Mm-hmm.
lending has loosened up there in terms
Yeah,
of
there's a
being
lot
able
of
to
options.
put less money down on those, because not everybody has $200,000 to $400,000 liquid in cash just to put down.
Right.
So I think that some of the larger banks across the country are seeing that, and they're seeing that there's good job stability and good earnings potential, and things are going pretty well, and so they've loosened some of the standards for what you need to be putting down on a jumbo loan. So
Got it.
that's going to be pretty big, because that's really what we see a lot of in
Right.
our area.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I've seen a lot of move-up buyers. That's what I'm seeing a lot
Yes,
of.
that
So-
has come back so strong since the beginning of the year, it seems like, with the market not being quite so intense.
Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
the people that are in condos are now looking for homes.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the people that jumped into a home, just a few years ago are now saying, okay, it's time to, go for the longer term home too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so that sort of middle ground has been, really hot, and that's really good.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot too, and it felt like there was some of that in the last couple of years, but a lot of it got frozen because really, unless you had the ability to buy without selling,
Yeah.
then it was, well, what do you do, right? You can't get a contingent offer accepted. You don't want to sell and then not have anywhere to go. So it feels like it's kind of the perfect mix right now of the market's moving so people still feel comfortable in the strength of the market, but it's loosened up a little bit to give them some timing options.
Yeah.
And there's more things to pick from on the buying side that they feel more comfortable moving forward versus I'm going to sell my house and not be able to get anything and be stuck in, you know, a one-bedroom apartment for the rest of my life when you've got a family of 4.
Yeah, no kidding. Another thing that's helped that transition for contingent offers and
Yeah,
and
and
dealing with that
I've seen
is
some of
that-
those lately too.
Well, what people have been able to do is that the home equity line of credit market has loosened up as well.
Oh, there you go.
And so people are putting those, on their current home,
Oh, nice.
using that as a down payment on the next home,
Got it.
and then being able to sell that home a little bit later.
Oh,
So,
that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't, necessarily available, I would say, even just a couple of years ago. So that's really changed, I would say, in the last year too. It's kind of like a bridge loan, you might call it.
Right, exactly.
Those are much more prevalent now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it helps a lot of people with the transition
Awesome.
there.
Good to know. Yeah, there's all kinds of good options. It feels like they're in the market right now, both from a mortgage standpoint and just there's a lot of houses on the market. Still not a lot, well, more than there were, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that helps because you kind of need enough that people feel like it's okay, it's worth looking, but when the market's, there's so little houses coming on, it's like, maybe we'll just try again another time.
Yeah.
And I tend to opt out.
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So just even, if we're thinking about the Kirkland area,
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of building going on
Yeah.
as far as offices go.
Mhm.
And, Kirkland Urban's coming.
Right.
And just growth in the employment sector there of some of the large tech companies coming. So where do we see that? What kind of impact do you think that opening might have on just that local Kirkland real estate market?
I think it's going to be super interesting. So this is just my personal, right? I haven't done research on it, but just what I've been experiencing. I think the housing, it will absolutely drive up prices on, right?
Sure.
I do think parking is a little bit of an issue in
Yeah.
Kirkland and will probably become more so. In fact, Gary and I were driving by Kirkland Urban the other day. It's like, oh, we better get used to walking to downtown Kirkland, which we actually kind of do anyway.
Yeah.
It's just something we like to do. So the parking gets a little tricky, but I think it's going to be great for values across the board. The condos will do well. And I think Kirkland's almost like Bellevue was 15 years ago in that it needs critical mass. So I think having all of these things come will bring critical mass to it. That'll be super helpful. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll report back. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will have all of the information on the website after the show for Andy and myself. If you need help buying a house, NicoleMangina.com/podcast. Take care and have a great Tuesday. Goodbye.